Hey everybody, welcome back to Quali-Tea time. So, first bit of news that I imagine you are the most interested in hearing about is Grandma. As far as last week was in the hospital, had in fact been released the day that that video went out, thankfully. I did get to visit her a couple of times over the course of the weekend and the early week. I was actually planning on seeing her mere hours before she was released. I don't think she had a quiet moment the entire time she was in the hospital. She had so many visitors. She's looking a lot better. She bounced back reasonably well. You don't tend to fully recover from a heart attack in the span of a week, but she was looking pretty dang good by the time that she was released, and she's back home, hopefully relaxing, though I doubt it, because she's my grandma, and I know her. Hopefully she still has years in her, but we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But I think this particular bump is past us for the time being. On to Fox 10 beta news. We have found a backup on the exact same street, with a somewhat unfortunate house number. A nice house number, shall we say, but it's a backup nonetheless. It's not quite as perfect as the primary Fox 10 Beta Alpha, I guess we'll call it, but it's got much more space for Fuzz. Fuzz didn't need more space. I did, but nonetheless, we reckon if we grab that one, we can probably have it done up just in the nick of time before we have to renew contracts here and be stuck here for basically another year, or else be paying double the rent. But meanwhile, litigation is underway for the ostensive former owners of Fox 10 Beta Alpha, and according to a apparent reputation in the area, it's pretty likely that the person who oversaw the auction that we got Fox 10 Beta Alpha from was an accessory to this particular crime. Whether that comes out in litigation, I don't know. How litigation ends, I also don't know, because we could just get monetary compensation at the end of all of this, because if all of the contracts have been rendered null and void, then we don't strictly own it, but it might be they also have to get rid of the house in order to actually, pay us for all of this. Who knows? We don't, so that's why we're looking at Fox 10 Beta Beta, and basically, one way or another, we are moving house, but it's just a question of we don't know which house, and we also don't know if the landlord's going to end up with 2 houses instead of the 1. But at least it's in an area where we can quite easily find some people to shove into it, so there's that, at least. Other than that, I have a little project. Emphasis on the little. But, so, a little while ago, I got this very lovely top, which I'm very much the least musical person in my entire family, but nonetheless, this is, if I can actually, figure out which things to be holding. Hang on, 1 second. Quite. Still, get in there. It's fiddly, you can tell. There, okay. Those 3. Yeah. So yes, it's got the nice, musical notes there, it's covered in musical notes, and it looks very nice. But the problem for me is that, when worn, this neckline is more than tad low, because it ends up being basically, yeah, you get the picture. It is very nice, and I would consider wearing it if I had absolutely no expectations of having to open the front door, but it's not so great for going outdoors, and it definitely is not something that I could wear on camera, currently. So, I have consulted more or less the only person I know that actually says anything, and I have constructed a plan. So at the back here, there are the tie-ends more or less of the straps, and I think I can take out the seams of just those, cut them back by about 1 inch or 2, and re-sew them. I haven't sewn anything properly in 15 or so years, so naturally I'm going to be taking some practice runs on some completely scrap fabric first, but I have assembled a sewing kit, as it were, about 8 quid from Boys, really not that hard to get. So I'll let you know how I get on with that in the next video, and probably maybe a video after that, and maybe a video after that. Unlike the lockpicking, which requires that I get like new equipment shipped in and whatnot, this I can just practice like on the sofa watching Elementary or something. Nonetheless, with that in mind, onto the schedule. Our upcoming streams for the week. On Thursday night, 11 PM BST, we have Midnight playing Dead by Daylight, and next week we've got some Destiny 2. Then on Saturday at 9 PM BST, we have the Carousel. Last time we played almost Duck Game twice, but then we ended up with Dead by Daylight. Who knows what we'll end up with this time. And lastly, on Tuesday at 9 PM BST, we have more Building Blocks, where we're working on some items and item models for Blood Elegance. And videos you might have missed for the week. We have an episode of Dailies by Daylight, as Amanda finishes her master's thesis in pigmanship, and Lying is aggressively pursued by a hag. And on to the questions. So as always, these are drawn from the comment section of the preceding vlog. If you have anything to ask me, drop it down below, we'll see if it gets answered. Our one question of the week, but it's a big one, comes from Chronicler Wolfram asking, what technical info would you give to new YouTubers? I wrote this down, so my eyes are going to be darting down to here quite a bit while I talk about this. Because I had to like plumb the like 6+ years of experience I have in this, because it's not really, this isn't a profession that you are taught for the most part. It's a profession that you toss your hand into, and if you're lucky you get a few things right, and then you correct things slowly and gradually over time, and you don't really realize that you're learning anything. So yeah, it's not something that I had in my mind of, oh yes, back in like 2016 I learned this. This is all just plumbed from my knowledge, and there's probably a lot more I could say, but here's what I've got a list for. First thing, record your audio separately to your video, because this means you can change levels and clean things up in post. Dead by Daylight, I have to reduce the sound of the game audio so that it's actually not overpowering for the commentary. That's why I have this microphone here instead of using the one built into my webcam. My webcam is also recording this audio, so I can sync the two up, but I have Audacity running on the side here to actually just record the raw audio in the highest quality I can. This of course goes double for videos when you have more than one source of commentary. I am currently one source of commentary, people in TeamSpeak would be another. If you can get people if you can get every single person on an individual audio track, then it is blissfully easy to make sure that everything gets clear and like heard and whatnot. So if you can accomplish that, great. Generally speaking, like in terms of like a video game, it would be TeamSpeak video, well, TeamSpeak game and like commentator. That's the bare minimum. Next thing is high quality video is secondary to high quality audio. Audio is also a lot cheaper to upgrade than video. Generally, for this microphone and the adapter that goes through it, Audacity is free, but these two are not cheap. But you can get a Rode Podcaster relatively cheap these days. You can get a Blue Snowball. That's what I started out with, more or less. They're not expensive, and the difference is very clear compared to pretty much any webcam mic, or even any headset mic. So that's a very cheap avenue to like upgrade your quality of your content. Moreover, a video with minimum quality textures and bad FPS can still be enjoyable with decent audio. We know this because people still listen to podcasts, and moreover, the number one statement I get with regards to my content is people listen to it more than they watch it, because apparently my voice is soothing or something. I don't know why, but still. So you can get away with horrible, horrible video if your audio is good. Conversely, however, the most exquisite piece of video is utterly ruined by bad audio. That can be pops, it can be clicks, it can be mobile phone signal errors, it can be just all sorts of badness. So if you're looking for something to focus on early on, look at your audio first. You can look at your video later on, but your audio is the first thing you need to worry about. After that, talking about video, YouTube tends to darken videos, so bear that in mind when you're editing dark footage. More than a few Minecraft mining expeditions, and I know I'm guilty of this, have been rendered basically unwatchable because of this effect. I don't know what causes it, I just know it happens, and you need to keep it in mind. Next thing then, when you're making thumbnails, try to go for simple. I've made some complicated thumbnails back in the day, and I've made some things that would look gorgeous in, like, full screen resolution, but you don't tend to see thumbnails at full screen resolution. You tend to see them like this big, maybe, and it varies based on device as well. So you need to be something that reads clearly when it's on a much smaller resolution. Something that's big, fine, but small is like the thing you have to worry about. You do want it to be relatively high quality, because they can be sometimes fairly large, but most of the time they're going to be quite small. Getting into a bit more of the, like, approach kind of things, try to do original things, but you don't need to do them in original contexts. So it doesn't matter how popular and oversaturated a given video game might be if no one else is playing it like you are. If no one is doing a shooter game in a stealth playstyle, which I doubt, but nonetheless, then doing it in a stealth style is still original, even if everyone has seen the maps and the enemies and heard the story 1,000 times already. Minecraft is a litany in how to make original content in very saturated markets. In many cases, the fact that it is you playing rather than anybody else is enough to make it different, but nonetheless, it's good to try and aim for something specific. In terms of duration, there is definitely a niche for longer form videos. People do get away quite happily to making longer form videos. People put up VODs from their streams, all manner of things, but for the vast majority of content, try to aim for the 15-20 minute mark at most. If you can get it smaller, great. YouTube monetizes at 10, but don't care about that ever. As a rule of thumb, the longer a video is, the less tightly edited it is, the more dead air, the more dull moments it tends to have, so that generally tends to reduce its overall quality. So when you're editing, try to keep it trim, try to keep it short, and aim for about that 15-20 minute mark. You can go longer, it's a rule of thumb, but that's your kind of gold spot. And speaking of a gold spot and rules of thumb, work to a deadline each day. Don't try to release a video in the same day you edited it. There's some occasional fudging allowed. I'm guilty of that right now while you're watching this, but sticking to this rule will significantly decrease your stress levels, and my final point with this kind of bears into that into mind. A consistent level of quality is more important than a consistent release schedule, and a consistent level of mental well-being is more important than consistent quality. And that's about it for this week. So, hope you've all enjoyed. I'll catch you all as ever next time.